Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm sorry I'm a little late. I did say 10:30, but I'm going to tell you the last 48 hours um I have been very very busy, and there's been a lot of negative activity going on for not just some of my clients, but some other people. So it's just been a very stressful 48 hours. Um anyway, I'm here to do the stars and fate of obviously Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. And before I get into that, I do want to wish everyone a happy fall. Today is the fall equinox, or as us pagans call it, Mabon. And it's also kind of a sad day for me. It's been 4 years since my aunt passed away, so I have a novena candle burning on the mantle with her picture in honor of her. So, yeah, it's kind of a hard day for me. And I'm getting through it though, and I'm going to be doing some Maybone celebration spell work. I don't, usually when my kids were younger, I would plan a lot more stuff, um, activities and things like that. Now that they're older, they seem to not care so much about the, activities like baking and cooking things for the event, and they care more about getting involved in the spell work. So it's a good thing. But anyway, we're here to discuss Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. Now, before I get to Gabby, his chart is not the greatest. It printed very funky. Where you see those two red X's on there, sorry, my nail broke the other day and it's just, oh, it's ugly. Anyway, we'll hide that finger. Where you see those two red X's right there and right there, those are his hidden dragons. So if you look closely at the dragon tail, it's sitting right in the fifth house of Pisces. So he had a dragon's head in Virgo and a tail in Pisces, and he has a hidden dragon head in Aquarius, and the tail is in Leo. Now, anytime the tail is in Leo, it does represent a short life, and I do feel that he has killed himself. And I could be wrong, but first, let me say this. We just had a full moon in Pisces. Okay, so he has a dragon's tail in Pisces. I have a dragon's head in Pisces, so mine operates on a more positive level. Anytime you're dealing with a tail, this is a lot of past life karmic residue that you deal with in this lifetime. But let me go to my moon book and I'm going to explain it to you. Bear with me. So he has been operating on his unlucky days, I would say the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th, or even the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th. Now, please remember, I'm looking at it through this book and not through my software. And I have Gabby's chart up, so I don't want to touch the software. I have it just where I want it. But he was operating on his unlucky days prior to the full moon and on the full moon. So his psyche was not in a good place. So there is the possibility that he took his life, and um, they're looking for him. I haven't watched any news, so if anyone's out there, if you can confirm that they found him, dead or alive, that would be great. I haven't had any time to watch the news, but he has been operating on negative days the last few days, so he might have taken his own life. That's just my speculation. Now, back to his chart. Anytime you have a dragon's tail sitting in the fifth, now that doesn't mean that everyone who has a dragon's tail sitting in the fifth um, is going to kill their lover or their children. I mean, I know clients of mine that have this position in the fifth, and it just means that they had more difficulty with childbirth. it could be something like that, but there's so much more to cover in his chart. So let's jump right into it, okay? I talked about him having a dragon's head in Virgo and the tail is in Pisces. We've been focusing on that. Now we have the hidden in Aquarius in the fourth, and the tail is in Leo, and that's on his 10th. Now, anytime you have a tail in the 10th, it does represent issues with employment, your job. Hi, Kathy. He hasn't been found, but I also think yes, you know, I agree. I agree. And you do not have to be a psychic or anything like that. In fact, several of my Cancer friends have come at me saying that. So if you hear a Scorpio, a Cancer, or a Pisces saying they think he's passed, he's passed. I think he's killed himself too. There's just too much guilt there. Because look, the hidden dragon is sitting in his 10th house. 10th house represents public um, accomplishments. It represents your public image. His public image is shit right now. Let's be blunt about it. Um, yeah, I agree, Kathy, 100%. I hope you're doing well, by the way. Hello, happy fall, hun. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So I posted a little bit about this on TikTok. You know, there's only so much you can post in 3 minutes. So he had some planets in critical degrees. Let's talk about that. And for those of you who don't understand what critical degrees are, all they are they mean that they hold more meaning and power at their birth time and in their birth chart. That's really all it means. Just so you know. And he had his planets in critical degrees were Venus, which represents love, Pluto, which represents death and drama, and his north and south nodes of the moon, which are his dragon head and tail. Hi, Christine. Um, those are in critical degrees as well. And as we go back to this chart, you can see dragon's tail is in the fifth, or excuse me, yes, the fifth. Dragon's tail's in the fifth, the head is in the 11th. These are both in critical degrees, meaning he really took on a strong energy of his dragon head and tail, especially that tail. Anytime we're dealing with a dragon's tail in Pisces, we're dealing with deep karmic residue from a past life, but we're also dealing with, it represents addictions. It represents insanity and institutions and jails and hospitals. And in his past life, he was clearly, I don't want to say a criminal, but he clearly had some issues in a past life. Um, Not to mention he was a Scorpio. Okay, now I'm not saying, please, this is not where I'm going with this. I'm not saying that all Scorpios are like this. They're not. There's two kinds of Scorpios. There is there is the lizard, and then there is the eagle of the zodiac. There are many Scorpios that I know in my own circle that are the eagle of the zodiac. Unfortunately, he did not understand the powers that he had within him. I mean, he had Chiron in his first house. One thing, if I don't have a birth date, ignore the midheaven and ignore the ascending, because it's not accurate. Without a birth time, I can't get you those two um, things. It has to be somewhat precise. He had Chiron. Remember, Chiron's the wounded warrior. Chiron is about past life scars that you bring into this world. It was in Scorpio. What is Scorpio? Scorpio is about metaphysics, witchcraft, the occult, investigations. The rules the eighth house of death, drama, rebirth, transformation. He had some issues that were underlying that he probably should have seeked out some therapy for. Now, he subconsciously was jealous of Gabby. Okay. She was a very gregarious woman, outgoing, friendly, A lot of people liked her. She had a dragon's head in Leo. Her tail was in Aquarius. Remember what I said a minute ago? His hidden dragon was in Aquarius and the tail was in Leo. These two souls have crossed paths in a past life. Wait a minute. I want to, and probably not for the better. There was unfinished business in a past life, and he finished the business in this life in some way. But yeah, their paths crossed in a past life for sure. I can't say it was the very last life. She is an older soul than he is. She was. She was an older soul than he is or was. I'm going to say was because I don't think he's in the land of the living. Okay, so let me jump right on into my notes that I wrote. Also, let's keep in mind he had a moon in Cancer. So he was a Scorpio with a moon in Cancer. He also had a tail in Pisces. He had a hard time deciphering between what was fiction and what was reality. Moon in Cancer makes people incredibly emotional, but that also makes them incredibly intuitive. It's harder on a man to have that placement than a woman unless the man understands his stars. A lot of the men I know with a moon in Cancer are very intuitive and they're very psychic. He probably had some of those abilities too, but he didn't use them for the greater good of humanity. He used them only for himself and to control others. He, like I said, he was jealous of Gabby. And let's just go to the third house. The third house it explains a lot. Okay, out of the complexity of his entire chart, the third house, which is right there where my nail is, you've got 3 planets sitting there. He had a stellium in the third. So he had a strong cluster of, is that the third or the fourth? Wait a minute. Yep, the third. He had a strong cluster of Capricorn energy. Third house is communication, it's siblings, it's mental process or mental clarity, which he didn't have, it had some issues, but he had Mars, he had Venus, and he had Neptune. So let's talk about those 3 planets really quickly. Okay, so anytime you have Mars in the third, this is in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn is usually a very good place for Mars to be because Mars can be undisciplined. Capricorn makes Mars disciplined. But this is in his third house of communication. So when he spoke to her, okay, Capricorn is very dry and cold in their speech. Throw in a Mars, and he probably spoke to her like she was a child a lot of the times, not realizing that she's actually the older soul, though she was a little younger and maybe even a little naive because of her age. She was an old soul and has lived many more lifetimes than this guy. It made him care more about social status and money. And it produced, how do I put this? He did not give her very much attention unless it was on his terms. There was very little affection unless it was on his terms. And with a Mars being in the third house of communication, his speech could be rough and gruff and very curt to where it was, probably incredibly offensive. And I know this. I have a Mars in my third house, a different sign, but when push comes to shove, I can tell you off in a New York minute. Bam. And you just sit there and go, shit, did that come out of her mouth? Mars in the third house. But his was in Capricorn, so it was a little more. He he thought his words out better, so he knew exactly how to stab her right where he wanted her. No pun intended here. His words were like a knife in her back. The way he spoke to her was disgusting. All right, moving on, moving on. I took quite a bit of notes here. Hold on. They're just everywhere. Anytime you have Mars in the third too, it is a person who acts like they know it all. I can actually, with my own self, say in my younger days, I was like that. Now that I'm older, no. Even now at 51, I don't know it all. I'm still learning. But a young soul like him, yeah, he thought he knew it all and that his shit did not stink. He was awesome. That was his mentality. All right, let's go to back to the third house. We've covered Mars. Let's go and talk about, oh, where are you? Neptune. Let's talk about Neptune. Okay. Neptune is, in its positive, it is about enlightenment. It is about higher consciousness. Neptune rules Pisces and it rules the 12th house of the subconscious mind. It is about prophetic dreams. It's about its strong intuition. Now, in its negative, it can be illusions and delusions. And this sitting in his third house, Neptune, sometimes his speech may not be very understandable. Maybe she had a hard time understanding where he was coming from. That's a characteristic of a Neptune in the third. I too have a Neptune in the third. And for me, it 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 helps with your abilities. But see, I've learned how to use my energy for positive instead of negative because I had a teacher that guided me. He did not. Um, he could be sweet to her, but then erupt, just trigger and erupt into total verbal abuse. Um, that is not good. He also had a Venus sitting in the third. Now, Venus in the third will make your speech sweet and kind. So it was like a yin and a yang. One minute he was abusive and curt and verbally abusive, and then the next minute he was whispering her sweet nothings. Anytime you have Mars and Venus in one house together, those two are going to battle each other somewhat. Venus doesn't battle, Mars does. Um, Venus tries to come in and smooth things over, and he had a battle there. See, I don't have Venus in my third. I just blurt it right out at you, like an Aries warrior. But like I said, he was very jealous of her subconsciously, and he was jealous of her in a past life as well. All right, I want to go and talk about this placement right here. It's the second house, and it's in, oh God, it's so hard to read backwards, you guys. There it is, Pluto, the planet of death, drama, rebirth, and transformation. Now, he had Pluto in the second. Anytime you have Pluto sitting in the second, and please remember, this planet is in critical degrees. This is about materialism. I don't know if anybody out there knows if she came from a family of money or wealth. If she did, this would make a lot of sense. That he could have solely been with her for social status and for money. Because anytime you have the Pluto in the second house, this does represent a obsession with wealth and possessions, and I got to get rich. I got to get wealthy. I've got to have this. I've got to have that. I need that status. Um, Pluto's in retrograde as well. In fact, I do want to call on a mistake I made on one of my newsletters. I said there were 4 planets in retrograde, and I made a mistake. I'm human. There's 5. Pluto's the other one. And anytime you're dealing with Pluto in retrograde, and was on his second house that this planet's in retrograde, and it affected him in some way. Not to mention, natally right now, Pluto is in Capricorn. So that was affecting his third house of mental clarity. Anytime you're dealing with Pluto in retrograde, it's about, in a positive, it is about ridding ourselves of things that don't serve our greater good, habits, addictions. It's about decluttering our area. Okay. And so his mental state is just not where it should be. Bear with me. I'm looking at my notes. I want to make sure I covered everything on that. And not to mention, going back to Brian Laundrie, the universal dragon right now is in a Gemini Sagittarius. That takes his second. God, where am I? Second house is Sag. Tail. The universal tail was there, and the dragon's head was in his 8th house of Gemini. Whether the dragon's moving in your 2nd or 8th house, it can represent death and danger. I give you a perfect example. A friend of mine who passed away this past February, she never would tell me her birthday. She always kept it very hush hush. It wasn't after she passed I actually got a hold of her birthday. All I knew was her age and her month. She would never tell me her date. And I don't know, she was an atheist, so she did not believe in what I did. And that was okay. I respected that. She was still an amazing cook, an amazing friend, and an amazing person. Once I got a hold of her birthday and I ran her stars, I just kind of felt ill and sick inside, because the stars don't lie, no matter how painful they are. And I'm getting emotional talking about her, but she had a dragon's head sitting in the 8th in Gemini. She passed away from lung cancer. So with this universal energy going through that 8th house for him, the possibility of him being dead is very, I would say, 95% likely. All right, what else can I say about this person? Give me a minute. I'm looking. I want to go to his 4th house, because he has, you see where there's a red X. That's where his natal or hidden dragon's head is. It's in Aquarius. It's in his 4th house. He has a Jupiter sitting there as well. He also has Uranus. So maybe throughout his lifetime, there was a lot of sudden upheaval in his home. Could be a lot of arguing, could be sudden moving away, something like that. There is clearly some instability that went on within his household. However, he always had a touch of luck, luck with, he had Jupiter in Aquarius. So he did think kind of in the new age, maybe more about technology, things like that. He had luck with technology and high-tech stuff. Jupiter and Aquarius will always create someone gifted with astrology, high-tech stuff, computers, even the UFO and ET world. So, hidden dragon in Aquarius sitting there in the 4th house. He might have had a real close bond with his mother or his parents. I hope I'm not losing you. It keeps saying my connection's unstable. Please note Mercury is going retrograde. We're in the pre-shadows now. I hope you guys can still see me. I hope I'm still broadcasting. Okay. And he has Uranus in its dignified sign. Anytime Uranus is in Aquarius, it's dignified. It's in its governing sign. And that made things even more chaotic in his home life. But with the dragon or the hidden dragon sitting there in the fourth, it did protect him some ways. But he had, like I said, anytime you have a dragon's tail sitting in the 10th house, first of all, in Leo. And what did Gabby have? A dragon's head in Leo. The tail was in Aquarius. We'll talk about her in a minute. I'm finishing up with this guy. Anytime you have a dragon's tail, whether it's natal or hidden, in Leo, it can, not always, but it can. I'll read that in a minute, Christine. It can create someone who will have a short life and won't live very long. Not always. Not always. So don't sit there. Some of my clients that are watching this go, well, wait a minute. I have a dragon's tail in Leo. I'm going to die. No. He kind of had a death wish out for himself, and this was all because of his past life residue. Okay. But it was in his 10th house. The 10th house represents his father. I think he had issues with his dad right there. I think he had issues with his father, but he was much closer to his mother. But this also is about public standing, and he's not looking good in the public eye right now, dead or alive. And that is the stars of Mr. Brian Laundrie. And I don't think he's in the land of the living, but I could be wrong. I think he killed himself. Oh, he did. The public humility isn't something he would be able to handle mentally, even though I feel he was a coward. I agree. Bingo. Christine, right on it. Right on the nose. You're absolutely right. Yeah, he had an ego and he had pride, and yeah, you nailed it, lady. Exactly. So yeah, I think they'll find his body somewhere in the Everglades. Maybe he was dinner for a gator. Sorry. I should not laugh because it is a very sad case. And here are the stars of Gabby. And before I get on this, I know that some of you on here, yep, dead. I know that some of you who follow me on TikTok follow me on here. And I did a 3-minute video yesterday on TikTok. I know it pissed some of you off, and that's okay. But Gabby is one of many women that have gone missing, and statistics are showing that. And this is just a statistic from 2016. Over 5,700 Indigenous women are missing. Many more go missing every year. And they're never brought, there's never any news bulletin or news footage about them. Now, there's 2 young black boys that are missing right now, and I don't know where it is. I saw it on TikTok. They're young, not like infants, but they're like teens and early 20s. They're missing. They've been missing for a while. You hear about that on the news? No, but I do get it. I get the whole Black Lives Matter movement. I get that my face gives me privilege that people of color don't get. I fully understand it. So, because she was a Caucasian blonde lady, it's going to get national headlines. Now, that doesn't take away from the tragedy that this is, and that is not where I'm going with this. I'm just trying to bring another issue to light. that has been going on for a while, for a long, long time. And you never hear about it on the news. All right, Gabby. She's born March 19th, 1999. She was a Pisces, and she had a natal dragon's head in Leo, 6, and the tail was in the 12th. Now, I too have a hidden dragon tail in the 12th. I want to go over this just a little bit. Let's go to her 12th house. Right there. She has a couple of planets going on there. She's got Uranus in the 12th. She has Neptune in the 12th. The 12th house rules our subconscious, deep thoughts. This rules hidden enemies, which was her lover. Her lover was her hidden enemy, for God's sake. Oh, God. This is why when my kids date, I always go, give me the birth date of the boyfriend or the girlfriend, and I will run the chart. You know, I told my daughter this last night. If you know, when you meet the girl of your dreams, I said, I want that woman's birthday. Because if I would have been her astrologer, I could have said something to her. Having that energy in the 12th house, the tail sitting on the 12th house brings up a lot of subconscious fears. Okay. It brings up past life residue, and her being Aquarius energy and on the 12th house, this can create her not making such great decisions in life. Now, I have this placement as well, except I have Neptune sitting there. So it creates, anytime someone has Neptune in the 12th, it does create psychic abilities. Neptune in the 8th also, along with other factors. But she had Neptune in the 12th as well. And so I think she had some sort of abilities that, that intuition. It just, with this, there was a block. She did not realize that the man she was in love with and dating was going to be her killer. 6th house, she had the dragon's head in Leo. Anybody who has a dragon's head in Leo, a moon in Leo, and a rising in Leo, a sun in Leo, you are destined to shine. You will be in the spotlight. And I don't think he liked the fact that she was very outgoing. She talked to people. She was a Pisces, so she kind of was a natural born empath. She felt for people. She cared deeply for other people, especially with that dragon tail in Aquarius. Barack Obama has this placement too. Dragon head in Leo, tail in Aquarius. People with this placement act more like their tail than they do their head, because they see life more like an Aquarian, humanity, helping humanity, equality, things like that. Let's not forget, she too had Uranus in its governing sign of Aquarius, making her subconscious. This is about sudden release of energy. There'd probably be days when she had epiphanies of things and visions of stuff, and then thought, oh my God, no, it's just my crazy imagination. And that would be understandable, because you see where my red X's are? She had a hidden dragon tail sitting right on her in Pisces. And the head was sitting in the 7th house of Virgo. She was very much a Virgo, but here was her downfall. Because she had the sun in Pisces, she has Mercury in Pisces. Anytime you have a Mercury in Pisces, sometimes you're misunderstood. They don't understand what you're saying. Sometimes we don't speak as clearly when we have this placement. She also had a dragon's tail sitting there. She was a party girl. She partaked in some sort of drugs. I can see drugs or alcohol going on here. Um, she liked to party and hard. She's young, you know, so I get it. But yeah, there was some sort of drug abuse or drug addiction of some sort, whether that was alcohol. Alcohol's a drug, marijuana, um, something. There was some sort of drug related thing going on. I just can't seem to pinpoint it. Maybe more will come out in the news. Um, I think he was with her for money because she has a Jupiter in Aries. She was a go getter in the second house. She knew how to make money. She was a go getter when it came to money, and she had the moon there. So her emotions revolved around wealth and possessions and how to make that money. So she had some money there. And that's probably one of the reasons he was with her. She has a Venus and a Saturn in the third house of communication. So her speech to him was usually very sweet and kind, but she does have a Saturn there. I always tell my clients, wherever you have Capricorn and you have Saturn in your chart, you have the devil particle. That doesn't mean anybody's evil, and that doesn't mean Capricorn is evil. What it means is, what is Saturn? Saturn is karma, past life karmic residue. Capricorn rules politics, it rules structures, architect, it rules um, secret societies, it rules the government. This was in her third house of communication. This is siblings. This is mental process. So she having Saturn on her third in the negative of Saturn, it creates depression and fears. She suffered from some depression. Maybe dating his ass made her depressed. I don't know. But she spoke very kindly and came from a very nice place, even though she was under the influence on many occasions. Anytime you have Saturn in the third, um, it can create fears, subconscious fears. Um, like I said, it's the devil particle, Saturn and Capricorn. And I always tell my clients, you better ride the devil. Don't let the devil ride you. When you have Capricorn and you have Saturn in a certain house, you need to be in control of that house, not the devil. Unfortunately, the devil had control of her mind as well. I won't necessarily say the devil, because and it's positive. When people draw the devil card, they go, oh my God, the devil card. The devil card is not a bad card. In its upright, it's about deep spiritual metaphysical knowledge. It's about liberating yourself from indoctrinations. And when you draw it reverse, it's on you, meaning you're your own devil. You are your own problem. So, when people say, oh, the devil made me do it. No, not necessarily. And so I want to backtrack here when I say it was the devil. It wasn't the devil. It was just the cosmic fluids that are going through her chart. And when you have Saturn in Taurus, this will rule. She probably got a lot of sore throats. It, Taurus rules ears, nose, and throat. So this represented health issues in that area. She might have gotten a lot of earaches as a kid, a lot of sore throat, strep throat. Um, Saturn in Taurus also represents fear of not having security and money. And so, but she had no problem with that, because of where Jupiter and the moon is. She was well to do in some ways. Bear with me. I'm moving along here. If she would have survived, she would have been very successful at whatever she put her mind to. Um, Dragon Hidden Leo usually does. It was in her sixth house of health and service to the world, so she would have shined in anything in that world. She would have been the doll of her employment office. Um, it's very sad. This is very hard for me to do. Because I sat this morning and I had to do some spell work for someone and remove a hex, but before I did that, I meditated on her chart and his chart, and um, it's very, very sad, and it's very hard to do this without, the empath in me just wants to sit here and cry, but I'm not. Anyway, moving right along here. Sixth, we covered the seventh. I told you she had a hidden dragon in the seventh, and one thing I could say is one of her past lives, she was very much a male, and I think that's how these two knew each other. She was the man, and he was the woman. Uh, anyone, either way, anyone who takes another life the way he did he's just maybe a man in this life, but he's still a little bitch. But she was the man in a past life, and he was the woman because she Aquarius tail, past life, always brings the weird and unusual into your life, and he certainly was weird and unusual. She was very prone to having strange people come at her. My mother-in-law said this once. Oh, Jesus, Linda, I attract the strangest people when I go out. Dragon tail and Aquarius. I mean, that's really what it is. And that's where she was, but it was on her 12th house, so she took it to a deep psychiatric level. What I mean by that is she really got involved with people to the point where it would affect her subconscious mind. I don't see any stelliums in her chart per se. I would almost say the 12th house has a stellium because she has a dragon's tail there. She has Uranus there, and she has Neptune. So there's a lot going on in that 12th house of her subconscious. And not to be morbid, but let me look at something real quickly. They last heard from her on what? The 25th or the 29th? Someone in the chat help me out here. I thought it was the 25th, but then someone said to me, no, it's the 29th of August, mind you. They had gotten in an argument a couple of days before this, and I'm wondering if that argument happened on the 20th, the 21st, or the 22nd. Because if so, he would be operating on his lucky days, and she would be operating on her lucky days. I personally, my opinion as an astrologer is that, and I can't be for certain here, but I think the last text that was sent out on the 25th, I don't think that was from her. I think that was from him. And I think he took her life between the 20th and the 24th because she was operating on 6 days in a row of unlucky days between her natal dragon and her hidden dragon. Um, and I do think that the 25th, he might have, God, someone said he texted that didn't sound like her, so I'm thinking he did it because he was manipulative. Um, but that's what I'm thinking, that she lost her life between August 20th and quite possibly August 24th. The last text came in on the 25th or the 26th, or was it the 29th? Someone threw the 29th out at me. Um, 28th, 29th, there was a lot of negative energy in the air anyway, even though it wasn't really a Uranic, Platonic, or Monic phase. Last I heard on 8/27, that's the last time they heard from her, or the last text that they got. See, what I'm trying to decipher here is, did they verbally and physically see her in a video on the 27th, or was it just a text? Because what I'm thinking is he's the one who sent the last text to like make it. He covered his tracks well. Now here's another thing about white privilege. Do you realize that that was a man of color? He'd be in jail. He was a person of interest. Yeah, you fucked up on that one, cops. He most certainly was a person of interest, but because he was a pretty white boy, they let him go. Okay, thank you, Kathy. Thank you. That makes sense now, because what I'm seeing is that her life was taken between the 20th and the 24th. Last text came in on the 27th, which is right in a negative energy of kind of semi-platonic energy. That would make sense. That would make sense. And he had about 3 days to mull what he did over. Probably sat there going, holy shit, did I just do that? Um, and yes, and then he took his own life. And I believe that he killed himself. Um, Between the 17th and the 20th, he took his own life. It took him a good 2 weeks, 3 weeks to process that. But I told you that this Pisces moon has its positive and negative. The 25th was the last her family saw her. Okay. Gemini. Starting to go into Gemini. Let me look at her chart a minute. March, April, May, June. So that universal dragon was cruising her fourth and sitting on her tail in the 10th. And she has Pluto on the 10th. So this is where death and drama will come in her life. The 10th house is father figure, which she might have seen him as a father figure. And for all you know, he could have video recorded her before he killed her and saved it, because that's how manipulative he was. I think this was premeditated in his mind. I think he had planned this for a couple of months. But I think it'll all come out in the wash. It was the last. So the 25th was the last her family saw her. It is a very sad, sad case, and it's a very sad story here. I hope that her next life is 100 times better. Um, he'll reincarnate too, but it's going to be a difficult life for him with a lot of karmic residue, just like he had in this life. Sometimes the lessons we don't learn in this life move on to the next, because those are lessons we have to learn through our Akashic record, so to speak. Very, very sad indeed. I don't have too much more to say about this. It was very mentally draining to do this. I'll be honest. but I do feel that he is dead or in a gator's tummy. Maybe, that would be the best way to go. Feed the earth, circle of life, right? Those are the stars. And very sad. May their next lives both be better. I know his won't. Murderers don't get a better next life. They get a very hard one. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes her a long, long time to cross over because in the paranormal world, stepping away from the astrology world, in the paranormal world, um, that energy doesn't just cross over easily. When something tragic has happened to someone like this, she's just not going to go to the light, especially at the age she was. She was so young and had so many things to do, so many plans. Um, she's going to be a spirit for quite some time. Very sad. Very, very sad. Anyway, I thank you all for joining me, Kathy. Bless you. You were a help, hon. Like I said, I haven't watched the news in a couple of days. The only thing I saw was that they had found her body, and that was only because I saw it on Facebook. So, what I am going to go look into is her astrocartography. I don't have a software that does readings for people, but I can go and check. And I'm curious to see if her death line was running through, what was that, Utah? Oh, Kathy, you're so welcome. It was my pleasure. Um, yeah, it was very sad. It was very hard to do, and it's been kind of a mentally draining couple of days on myself. I have a friend who's a psychic medium, and I don't want to get into too much, but a tragedy has happened in her family, and even psychic mediums get blocks. I get it. So I had to go in and pull the chart of a loved one who had passed away. Unfortunately, when I saw the stars, I knew that that loved one took their own life. And I was right. And there's a lot more to it, but I have to tell you that within itself. Yesterday, I was supposed to do a hex breaker for one of my Patreon clients, and doing the energy work for my friend who's a psychic medium took everything out of me. I mean, I was just drained. And then having to do this again this morning, dealing with death, it does something. It's draining. Excuse me. But I do want my Patreon clients to know this, because the person that was in Patreon that I had to do the unhexing for wanted to know what she owed me, and I said I will never, when it comes to things, unless it's for materials that I need, but all the materials I needed for this were very simple: water, olive oil, and salt, 2 needles. My intuition. But she'd asked me, "What do I owe you?" And I said, "You don't owe me anything." My Patreon clients, I will always tend to. You invest in me, I will invest in you. So I don't want money for what I've done. So just remember that. If you ever have a problem or an issue, you're one of my Patreon clients, I will help you. If it's something that I have to do in the magical realm that takes a lot of products, the only thing that I will charge you for are the products, not my time. Like I said, if you invest in me, I will invest in you. Simple as that. Yes, it is a cusp, but because of, like I said, we don't know exactly her birth time. Um, I believe it moves on the 20th, and moves on the 21st. Sorry, and I know why. I should know this. My one of my kids is a March baby. She was supposed to be born on like the 19th, 18th, 19th, and um, I was having a scheduled C-section, so I didn't go into labor with her per se. So I arranged it for the 22nd because I couldn't have a water and a fire sign for two sisters. There's no way in hell my life would be miserable. And I was right, because now they are both fire signs, and yeah, they get in their little fights, but most of the time they're like two peas in a pod, the Leo and the Aries. So there was a method to my madness. But yes, you're right. It is very much almost on a cusp. The 21st is the cusp. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of Pisces qualities in my own child too. I I too asked my son about. You know what? I'll tell you this: a mother's intuition will always be accurate every time. Um, I have a family member. I'm not going to say too much because I know some relatives of mine watch this. I won't drop names, but a relative of mine was married to someone several years ago, and my husband's grandmother was still alive, and she was the wise Native American Blackfoot woman. Um, she said, "I don't like that guy. I pick up bad vibes on him. He's not good for her." She was right, 100%. Women's intuition, always accurate most of the time. So yes, Christine, I agree. You're very welcome, Christine. I know I'm sick of hearing it too, and I'm trying not to pay too much attention to it anymore, because it's just sad. Uh, I cried my eyes out for about half an hour this morning, looking at their chart. It's just sad, just sad. Anyway, okay, I got a grip on my emotions. It's just one of those days. Still reeling from the Pisces full moon, but um, you're very welcome, everybody. Please hang in there. The next 2 weeks are going to be a little rough on all of us because of the waning moon phase. It's in Pisces, so this energy, just because the full moon is come and gone, that Pisces energy is still here and will be here, and we will kind of be reeling from it. Um, and there are some days of caution coming up. If you're a Patreon client, you know those dates. Um, if not, I urge you to go to my main page here, and you guys can join up for $5 a month. And you can get all the forecasts. You can get all the days of caution. I'm actually getting ready to post a happy birthday to Libra. I might not do that today. I need a day off from everything, and today is the first day of fall, so I'm going to be working with my kids and doing some spell work. But I'll get back on here in a day or two, and maybe pull some cards. I usually try to come on here every Friday and do that. But right now I'm just very mentally drained, and I think I'm going to go sit in the sun a little bit and relax and just kind of let it go. And I recommend that to each and every one of you. Please don't listen to the news. It is, just turn it off. Put on music. Nobody not fall. Okay. Happy fall to everybody. It is the first day of fall, and I actually leave you on this. I could tell here in hot as hell Arizona that the seasons are changing, because last night, for the first night ever in a long, long time, I had to pull that blanket up. Oh, no, not fall. We're not a fan of fall. Fall's my favorite season. I love fall. Not too hot, not too cold. Um, Maybe it's because I like Halloween. Pumpkins, apple cider, auto. No auto. Oh no. No car? Or is that autocorrect? I'm confused. Yep, me too. It's almost sweater weather, and I love my sweaters. I've got some I can't wait to wear. It's going to get colder, but I can tell it used to be about 95 here, and the nights didn't cool down very well. It was like 70. And just in the last week, I've noticed that the days are about 84 to 86, and the nights have cooled down to about 59 or 60. That's nice. And in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, I'm cold. Oh my God. I got to go get a little blanket. Threw another blanket on the bed. That's the first time we've done that in a good 6 months. I think I haven't done that since April. We had our last frost here in April. So, and my hair is growing. I didn't say too much about this, but back in April, I got the mother of all haircuts. It was horrible. I even brought this picture in and said, could you cut it like this? I don't know what the hell she did to my hair. It's finally growing, and I'm never getting it cut in a hair salon again. I will cut it myself or have my daughter do it. Never again. I know it is still too hot. I agree. It gets real nice here about October, and it stays nice till about um, mm, mid-April, and then it gets hot as hell. I am going to say this, and this isn't something I'm going to share with not just Patreon but the general public. It is a warning to people, and then I really am going to go after this. Okay, um, I foresee another lockdown. I've said that before. Some states will honor it, some states will not. Um, I will, if you know, the state of California right now has gotten a handle. Out of all the states in the nation, they are not at a red alert like every other state in the nation is. They've gotten a handle on it. There will be more lockdowns and there will be a lot more COVID deaths, especially in December. Patreon clients know why. I've explained that to them um, in a video, I believe. But I want you all to stock up on some food for the winter. This is going to affect the food supply in some way. I'm not sure how come December. So, go buy that extra bag of rice at the grocery store. Go buy a couple of bags of beans. Just stock up on non perishable items that you can cook: rice, beans, pasta, jarred pasta sauces, canned fruits. If you grow your own, start canning those for the winter because I don't see a very good winter coming. December is going to be horrible. Um, there are going to be more COVID deaths, a lot of COVID problems. Um, you'll finally hear about COVID going away springtime of 2022. March, April, it'll it'll start to fade away. But just be safe out there, and just go to Costco, stock up on some bulk foods, bulk items, even firewood, because it's going to be a cold winter for people. So yeah, I know I complain about Arizona now, and I'm roasting in hell, and it's hot, but we're going to be freezing our little asses off come fall, come winter in certain parts of the world. So just be prepared. Not trying to scare you. That's not where I'm going with this. I'm not trying to put fear in you, but you do know that when you know what the stars are going to bring the universe, you can plan ahead and live another day. It's not about fear, it's about preparing and planning. Already stocked because of my upcoming surgery. Oh no. I hope your surgery goes well, Christine. Okay. Anyway, that is it. Everyone out there, have a blessed week ahead. I will be back here on Friday and I will pull some cards for everybody. I am running my full life reading special. It's 77.77, and that's included with tax. What else am I running? If you're looking for any, I have sugar skulls I'm selling, and rose quartz skulls. I'm running a special in my store on all kinds of selenite, orange selenite, regular selenite, and I've clearanced them out on a very the prices are incredible. So if you're looking for, selenite is a great cleanser, not just of your own body and the residue around you, but the energy around you. So if you're looking for a nice little mini selenite wand, I've got orange and white, and they're on clearance. So get those before they're gone, because I am going to upload them to Amazon tomorrow. I'm going to put some of the stuff I'm trying to sell on Amazon. My store doesn't move as quickly as my readings and my tarot stuff does. That I'm always doing. I don't know if people forget I run a little crystal store, and a lot of my crystals come from the beautiful Sedona, Arizona area. So if you're looking for any crystals or Halloween stuff, sugar skulls, I got them. All right. Anyway, I am out of here. You guys have a great day, and I will see you all later. Ciao. Bye, ladies. Thanks for tuning.